This is Lautrec, and Lautrec gives you the best ring in the game. Wanna know how you get it? Well, you can either A. keep him alive after freeing him from his cell, which forces you to ring both of the bells, go to the depths, Blight Town, Sense Fortress, and Rolando, and then finally kill him there, come back to Firelink Shrine, and then restore the Firekeeper, and finally get the ring along with his armor. Or B. just kick him off the edge and get the best ring in the game very early, and just like that. Now you might be thinking, why would anyone ever choose option A over option B? Is the armor you get really worth it? Well, no. It will almost always be worth killing him and getting his ring early on rather than keeping him alive and go through all of that hassle just to get his armor, which isn't even the best armor. And you wanna know what his ring does? His ring increases your maximum health, stamina, and equip load, all three of these at the same time. The open-ended design of Dark Souls left a big mark on the industry, and it has been attempted to create a world this open-ended but never been replicated to the degree of the original Dark Souls. However, while getting busy talking about the game's genius design, some of its questionable and peculiar design decisions often gets ignored. Well, let's talk about them. You get the Calamity Ring by killing the optional boss Calamity in the DLC, but the ring doesn't give you any bonus. If anything, it makes the game much more difficult, because wearing this ring will make you take more damage from both enemies and bosses than you currently do. Now you might think that it is there for players who likes an even harder challenge, but there is a problem with that. First of all, the Calamity Ring is pointless for most players because of what it does, but secondly, even for the hardcore players, this ring is kind of a letdown, as it's only available in the DLC, which can be accessed quite later in the game. So not only is it not a good ring for hardcore players who might enjoy a challenge, but it's also completely useless for the majority of the players anyway. A ring like this could have been added in a chest that could be found at the beginning of the game, and it would have been perfect, but it's very useless for both new and older players. This boss is probably the most infamous boss in all of From Software's games. First of all, the closest bonfire, which is basically your spawn point, is actually a solid 2-minute run from the boss. So every time you die to the boss, you have to run for almost 2 minutes just to get to the fight. Not to mention, there is a respawning Titanite demon here that is super dangerous and can often kill you very easily. So all of this running just to get to a boss that is actually 3 shots away to die. All you have to do is hit the core to the left, hit the core to the right, and then lastly hit the core in the center. But the problem is, after hitting both the left and right one, it's so random what the boss will actually do. Most likely a soup attack happens, which does considerable amount of damage but pushes you, making you fall and die immediately, or when you think it's not going to happen, something else happens and you just die. Also, did I mention, when you destroy one of the cores on the front, the floor will actually start to break, and there are no signs that tells you it will break, forcing you to eventually remember which parts of the floor breaks and which doesn't. Meaning, defeating this boss first try, no death, is pretty much near impossible, and getting to the core in the middle is also a huge nightmare. Overall, the way this boss has been designed is very obnoxious, and if all of this wasn't enough, this is not an optional boss. That's right, you have to kill this boss in order to finish the game. Oh boy, if you thought the bonfire run to Bed of Chaos was bad, wait till you run for the Four Kings. Look, I understand that the New Launder ruins was flooded with water, so it makes sense that there would be no bonfire here. But still, the fight to the boss from the nearest bonfire, which is actually Firelink Shrine, is very long. You have to go down by the elevator, drop on this very specific wall so you take minimal damage, but you will still take damage, dodge a couple of dark raids that will get you most of the time, and then finally get to the fight, but there's still a chance you will get hit by the ghosts outside. Also, you need to have the Covenant of Artoria's ring if you want to access this fight without dying, which means you technically have to fight this boss with only one ring. Again, it's not an optional boss, so I don't really know what was going on when they were designing this. Another very weird thing about this boss is there are actually more than 4 kings. I heard it's somewhere along 12, but I'm not really sure. When you kill a king and the animation of them perishing happens, you can actually still hit them and the combined health bar of the 4 kings will actually go down. Which makes no sense. But hey, at least it's one of the coolest looking fight ever, so I guess it's worth it. After defeating Ornstein and Smaug, it feels good to get the Lord Vessel as an appropriate reward. However, one issue. Not all bonfires are warpable, and some are way too close. Why can I warp to the Enorlondo and Chamber of Princes bonfire, but I cannot warp to the bonfires of Blighttown? Look, I understand you don't want players to warp to a bonfire that has never been discovered before in the first place by them, but at least give us the chance to warp to a bonfire once it has been lit, cause that would mean that a player actually went to that bonfire and is not simply trying to warp there. And why are their bonfires sometimes so close? These 2 bonfires in the Northern Asylum is so close. Why is that? After defeating the boss, anyone can go back to the first bonfire and just rest there. You don't need this additional bonfire here. Why is there another bonfire in front of Quillag's sister when there is also another bonfire at the entrance of Demon Ruins? They're literally beside each other. It literally takes seconds to go from one bonfire to the other. And there are no consequences of the bonfire fading, by the way, even if you kill the fair lady in this case, because if you kill her and the bonfire fades, there's literally a bonfire right next to it on Demon Ruins, so you're good to go. It doesn't make any sense. In the original Dark Souls, you can only wear 2 rings, but why is that? You have 10 fingers on your hands, but somehow you can only wear 2 rings? Look, I understand that you wanted to balance the game, and too many rings will break the game completely, but it doesn't make any literal sense that you have 10 fingers, but you can only wear 2 rings. Sense Fortress is an area full of traps, but did you know it's also full of bullshit? So there is this section you will come across where a ball will keep rolling and you'll need to make a run when the ball is rolling and you're safe. The problem is, even if you reach the switch and actually turn the roller around, the game will actually turn it back to basically say fuck you and catch you off guard when you play this for the first time. I know this game has a brilliant difficulty, but this was pure bullshit and nothing else. Apart from Bed of Chaos, this boss is probably the most unnecessary fight in the game. At this point, just throwing in whatever seemed more important than anything else, is what it feels like. It's essentially the 3rd time of us fighting the exact same boss. Well, there are some small differences, but apart from those, Demon Firesage is basically the Asylum Demon and the Stray Demon, but fought for the 3rd time. Also, despite of him being in fire, the boss is actually weakened by fire. I don't even know what to say, because unlike him, the Centipede Demon cannot be damaged by fire at all. So it's very odd that why would he be on fire but then take more damage because of it. Lost Izalith is already a pretty weird place, but the weirdest thing about this place are the half-dragons. It honestly just feels like someone got access to the level editor and just spammed out the dragons as enemies with little to no care whatsoever. Seriously, who is actually willing to fight this many dragons at all? Especially in the burning lava. Makes no sense. Like any other RPG, there are a ton of Taurus Demons sitting here to basically make the player feel how far they have come, as this was once a boss, but now just a regular enemy. But look again, just like the dragons, they are spammed in the level editor. All of the thoughtful and caring level designing for some reason was completely thrown out of the window by this point. They're just standing there like robots and doing nothing, so you can arrow them one by one and then kill them. That way, others won't come after you. Still, it's pretty odd to see them standing there just like that, and the fact that they were probably under the lava doesn't help either. But I guess they were made of fire, which might make sense. What makes Dark Souls so unique than its counterparts is that the world of Dark Souls is not only interconnected, but it is also full of features. In other games, what you unlock by playing the game and it being accessed through the menu, in Dark Souls you unlock a lot of those features and core game mechanics in the actual gameplay, which is really cool. Sure, it's definitely easy to miss a lot of things, but it is really cool regardless. But accessing the DLC is by far one of the weirdest thing of this game. You have to first kill the Hydra in Darkroot Basin, then follow along the stream of water all the way to the end, then find a golden golem who will entrap Dusk, so you kill the golem and free her, that makes her appear by the bank, and then go there and talk to her. Now make sure you rank both the Bells of Awakening, and then go to Guinevere in an Orlando to get the Lord Vessel, and after you place the Lord Vessel in Firelink Altar, you will get access to the Duke's Archives near an Orlando. Now go to the Duke's Archives and kill this specific crystal golem, who then drops a pendant that doesn't tell you anything except talking about a city that is destroyed, which is a vague way of hinting towards Ulasil. So you are meant to realize that Dusk is also from Ulasil, so you have to go there where Dusk originally was, which is behind the Hydra in Darkroot Basin, and that is where the portal to the DLC will finally appear. Just a very odd and confusing way of designing things into your game. I am sure there are even more peculiar design decisions of this game that makes little to no sense, but those are the ones that always made me ask myself, why? And I never found any answers after all of these years of me playing this game. Anyway, thank you for watching. Perfect Enrager signing out.